Energy Storage Canada leads the growth and development in the energy storage industry. President and CEO Justin Rangooni will tell us how energy storage is critical for the future of the grid. Welcome, Justin.
Well, welcome. Thanks for having me today.
Well, thanks for joining me on the podcast because there's a lot to talk about here because I'm so curious about energy storage. And I know that you're going to answer a lot of my questions. But before all of that, tell us about your background and how and why, did Energy Storage Canada, become a trade association?
Of course. So yeah, I'm the president and CEO of Energy Storage Canada. So I'm a lawyer by background. So don't hold that against me.
Wow.
I've been in the energy sector for several years, working in government, working on the generation side, on the distribution side. And Energy Storage Canada has been around since about 2016. So next year will be our 10th year anniversary.
Yeah.
And it really started by really pioneers in the sector back then who saw the burgeoning sector, the burgeoning technology of energy storage, the storing of energy that is being produced by nuclear, water power, wind, solar, gas, what have you. And they had foresaw that there will be a technology, batteries and pump storage or other technologies that will be able to store that excess energy for when it's needed. So they created this group, Energy Storage Canada, because they thought it needed a dedicated voice to really focus on making sure education on what that is, on what storage can provide, removing barriers to market entry, and really educating the public and decision makers that this is a tool that's almost ready. And at 10 years, we're almost 10 years now, and we're seeing it across the board everywhere now.
Awesome. Well, the pace of developing energy storage, I would imagine it would vary, from one region to the other. Like Atlantic Canada would be different than Central and West. Are there any provinces that seem to be taking the lead right now?
Yeah, and there is several. So when I
Yeah.
first took this role in about 2019,
Hmm.
it was just really getting started. We were talking with decision makers across the country, saying this is not, we're well beyond science experiments and pilot projects. You can start to really install this now. So to their credit, the Ontario government really took a big lead, a big leap with a big procurement for energy storage to really help on the utility scale to make use of all their generation assets they have, the wind, the solar, the nuclear, the water power, the gas. And so they really led the way by saying, okay, we're going to do this big procurement. Now they have almost 3,000 megawatts, which is a lot of batteries, a lot of projects going to be ready in the next couple of years. But to their credit, Nova Scotia followed suit really quickly. Nova Scotia Power, Nova Scotia government have 150 megawatt projects announced. I believe it's three 50 megawatt battery projects that have been announced, are under construction, and are going to be built. So Nova Scotia is a leader, Alberta is a leader, and other provinces are really starting to catch up now.
That's awesome. What would be some of the potential stumbling blocks or pain points, to develop? Have you seen any patterns?
The pattern I would probably say is just um, because this is new and
Hmm.
innovative, so it's starting to think things a little differently. I think
Right.
people, system operators, regulators, governments are so used to thinking how things have been working for the last 50 plus years that you build a power plant of whatever form of fuel, and then that energy is created and electricity is delivered to homes and businesses. But now energy storage comes in and says, well, now you can store that at the power plant. You can store that along the lines. You can store that near your houses now. And so it takes just a little bit different thinking and getting people used to saying, okay, what are these? Now, again, Nova Scotia, Ontario, and other provinces who are leading the way could really help provide that comfort that this technology is ready and it helps keep the lights on while keeping rates low.
I started this podcast because I didn't know a lot about energy. Like I didn't know a lot of things. So it was kind of like a teach Maria thing and learn along with me. So until lately, I thought energy storage only included batteries, and I was surprised that it's a lot more than just rechargeable batteries. So, prove me wrong on this.
So the first actual storage is in Ontario from the 1950s and 60s at Niagara Falls. It's called the Sir Adam Beck pump storage. It basically was a technology where it would take water that Niagara Falls is ready and kind of hold it like pump it up and hold it until that it's required, and then let the water flow down, turn turbines. That's part of Niagara Falls to create electricity. So you've already had this old pump storage technology using water power and
It's almost like
gravity.
the windmills or even
Yes,
the water
that's
mills,
right.
making
That's right.
flour.
That's that, and that's how hydropower is created. So back
Right.
then, they found a way to store that water power, potential energy until it was needed. So now we're here, and obviously batteries, like you said, are the most prevalent. You're seeing in electric vehicles. We know
Mhm.
lithium batteries in our phones, on our computers. So that technology has really, the costs have come down. The technology has really advanced. So that's why you're seeing a lot of it, and that's more for that short term, 4 hour type of duration where if you need something quick, you can use those batteries. But those new technologies, again, pump storage is back in vogue. You got compressed air, which uses like salt caverns to push air in the ground and then to
Mhm.
release that air to turn turbines to create electricity. There's thermal storage, heating rocks. There's other battery
Right.
technologies other than lithium, zinc, and what have you. And again, those ones can store electricity for even longer than 4 hours, hours, weeks, and months.
Right.
So really, the menu, the possibilities are really becoming quite varied.
So I would imagine this is would be energy storage would be a critical tool for the future of the grid. I would imagine the utilities are all looking at this. I know Nova Scotia Power is, but they're all looking at this technology.
Yeah, that's right. And the reason they look at energy storage because it's scalable. It can be any size. It can be a really big battery plant or a big pump storage project, or it can be something that's really small that you can install in your house or in
Mm.
your business, like what they call behind the meter almost. So that's why people are looking at this because it's scalable, it's portable. There's different technologies available for what you're trying to do. So it doesn't just do the one thing, which is why you're seeing a lot people from utilities to the regulators to homeowners now starting to look at this as an option for their energy use.
Well, like that mentioned it earlier about EVs. And, they're like little mini battery storage uh, compartments, I guess, sitting in a driveway, which can be used during an outage. And I know the technology is going so you can charge it, but the technology to put it back into the home is not quite there yet.
Yeah, you're right. It's getting there. So we just bought an electric vehicle. So we have one sitting in the garage. We got the charger, and we're very excited about it. And you could see the potential as of what you're mentioning. It's called vehicle to grid. It's a V2G concept where you would use the car energy stored energy, and like maybe you don't need the 100% battery to get to work or to get
Right.
wherever you're going, but maybe your house does or your business does, and so the V2G technology can use that power in your car for warming up your house or using it for business, and all of a sudden you're becoming more of a prosumer than just a consumer of energy.
Let's move on to a rather tricky subject, and that is about supply chains and trade relations with China and the U.S. Um, Tell me a little bit about what you guess is the future of these relationships.
Oh, it's very difficult because as we're seeing it, this thing is changing day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. We're seeing
Yeah.
various new things. So from the energy storage point of view, I think you're seeing this as a global trend that every country is looking at energy storage technologies. So now the question is, when you have a nascent industry like this, like electric vehicle manufacturing, it's where does the countries have the competitive advantage? So Canada has a lot of critical minerals that can be put into batteries and electric vehicles. A good workforce, a very intelligent workforce, and good health. There's a lot of potential and competitive advantage for Canada. There's also competitive advantage in other countries. So is there a
Mhm.
way where we can do what Ontario government's is talking about, like a Fortress Canada, an AmCam or Can-Am type of approach, where you see that with the traditional auto parts, where some parts are made in Canada and then are shipped to the US and then it's
Mhm.
shipped back to Canada and shipped back to the US and back and forth. You could see that with energy storage and electric vehicles and what have you. So again, it's changing day by day, but we hope
Yeah.
cooler heads will prevail to see let's find a way where it can be more cohesive instead of so isolationist.
Well, we're very um, mineral rich, I guess. We have the elements to create a lot of the technology. So I think that would be a really good benefit. But
Mhm.
what about Europe? I'm just going to throw that in there. I mean, and other countries besides China and the US,
Yeah, very similar. You can look at other Asian countries, Japan or Korea, Vietnam, you can look at
right?
Europe, you can look at Africa. There's a lot of places we can look at and say, well, Canada has these critical minerals, Canada has this great workforce. Um,
Yeah.
let's do that study. Let's see where our competitive advantage is, and let's start working globally now. And so we maybe reduce our
Mm.
dependence less on maybe one country, unless that one country really wants to work more better together. But still, it's better to diversify.
Yeah.
So again, it's just looking at where our competitive advantage is.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to ask you a yes, no, and a why question. So, this
Okay.
is about, are we currently leveraging the full value of energy storage?
No, we're not.
Okay. And
Yeah.
why?
And the reason is right now, energy storage is being procured for a one thing. So the system operators looking like we need something to store this energy and what's called like capacity. We're holding it for capacity, and then they procure those technologies, but they're not using it for it. It's more what people call energy storage is like a Swiss Army knife for for the energy system that it can do more than the one thing. So maybe you need it for backup power, like when the lights go. Like we saw in Alberta during that cold snap, electricity went out, but if you had a lot more storage, you could have
Mm,
tapped into those energy storage and maybe lasted a little bit for a few more hours. So
right.
again, that's what they can provide. They can provide very other technical things that the system operator is well aware of. It's called like voltage reduction and black start and what have you, operating reserves. So it can do all these various things. But right now, it's just being procured for the one thing.
Hmm.
And so that's what we're talking about, really unlocking that full value potential, because then you can really get a lot that really helps the system and really can help keep rates low.
Well, you're just scratching the surface, it sounds like.
That's right.
Um, Now, I was going to ask a question about, knowledge and education. I mean, obviously, the energy literacy piece for battery storage or energy storage still needs to be told. So, what would you say, how do we get around those roadblocks?
I think one of the things is just ask those questions. Like we're out there,
Yep.
we're the only association that tells the whole story of energy storage. So
Mm,
we tell the story of how it makes everything better on the grid of all forms of generation. We also talk about how, as a standalone, it can help on the distribution and help on the residential. Your electric vehicle is a car, it is a battery for yourself. So we're here as the association to tell that story. But also, like if you see a project or the utility or someone's building an energy storage park, ask those questions. Have something to learn. But I think what's really going to help is as people get more electrification, they get more electric vehicles, or they start to see more things.
mm,
I think now they're going to really start to get their head around it. And really, it's as simple as your phone that you plug in. That's a battery that you're using.
yep.
It's basically the same concept. You're
Yep.
charging it when you need it. You charge it overnight when you don't not going to use it, and when you wake up in the morning, it's 100% charged. Great, I can use it all day, and I'm happy. And then you plug it
Yeah.
in. So it's a very similar concept. So I think it's just having people start to see it more
Mm.
and get to know it better.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right there. What's next for Energy Storage Canada? What does the next year or two look like for your organization or
Well,
association?
of course, well, we're to continually to grow. We grow along with the sector.
Yeah,
We're over 100 members now. We started with, under 40. We continue to grow. We're getting from the entire value chain. Everyone in the energy sector is interested in storage is becoming a member. We have our biggest conference, the only energy storage conference in Canada, is in October, and it continues to grow. So we're continuing to be active in all areas. And as you mentioned at the top, where there are some provinces that are further ahead, others that are getting on the ground floor, well, we're working with all of them and
great.
just getting everyone up to speed, or now making sure that the projects that have been procured are going to get to construction. So it's a really exciting time for the sector and the association.
Justin, I really have to thank you for joining me today and sharing, giving us an update on energy storage in Canada. Yeah, I hope wish you all the best with your conference coming up in October. Hope it sells
Thank you,
out.
Maria. Yeah, thank you, Maria, and maybe we'll have you out there. Like we love talking.
Great. Okay, take care. Energy storage in Canada is booming and has yet to reach its full potential. Exciting times for the industry and groundbreaking work lies ahead. I'm your host, Maria McGowan. Thanks for listening or watching.